Have you ever been haunted by someone who barely showed up for you? Not the person who truly loved you, but the one who gave you just enough to keep you hoping, yet never enough to feel secure. They didn't open up. They didn't stay consistent. They avoided vulnerability, closeness, accountability, and yet they're the one you can't stop thinking about. Why? Why is it that the most emotionally distant person can feel like the strongest connection? Hi, I'm Jim Rohn. And if you've been caught in a dynamic like this where you felt emotionally starved but somehow deeply attached, you're not alone. You're not imagining the intensity, and you're certainly not weak for missing someone who never truly let you in. What you're experiencing isn't just heartbreak. It's a nervous system response. It's the collision of anxious and avoidant attachment, the emotional equivalent of a locked door that only opens when you're walking away. These relationships don't just confuse you, they activate something ancient inside you, a hunger to finally be chosen, a hope that this time, maybe, love will be different. But here's the hard truth. What feels like love is often a trauma reenactment. That emotional charge, that ache when they pull away, it's not always a sign of chemistry. It's your unhealed wounds asking to be seen. The avoidant isn't your healer, and chasing them won't bring you home to yourself. But you can break this cycle. You can learn how to stop abandoning your own needs in pursuit of someone who fears intimacy. In this video, we're going to unpack exactly why this dynamic feels so powerful and how to reclaim your clarity, your calm, and your self-respect. If that speaks to your soul, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because the love you're searching for starts with the way you come back to yourself. Sometimes what feels like an incredible beginning isn't actually about real connection, it's about intensity. You meet someone and suddenly they're all in. They shower you with affection, talk about the future like it's already written, and make you feel seen in ways no one else has. It feels magical, undeniable, like you finally found someone who gets you. But deep down, something feels a little off. It's all happening too fast. You haven't even had time to see if they truly know you, or if you know them. And yet, they're already building castles in the sky with you inside them. This is often what happens when you're dealing with someone who has avoidant tendencies, especially the kind who have spent their whole lives disconnected from their own emotions. People who grow up in environments where emotional needs were ignored, dismissed, or even punished learn to suppress their feelings just to stay safe. But the thing is, those emotions don't disappear. They just get buried. When someone like this enters a new relationship, all that emotional energy they've been avoiding suddenly finds a release. At first it comes out as excitement, passion, intensity. They might believe they've finally found the missing piece. You become the safe space they didn't know they were craving. And in that temporary high, fueled by dopamine and the illusion of connection, they go all in. But what you're experiencing isn't necessarily intimacy. It's a surge, a flood of unmet emotional energy that finally has somewhere to land. And that intensity can be intoxicating, especially if you're someone who's been waiting to feel chosen, special, or deeply desired. But here's the truth, from a secure place. Healthy love doesn't come on like a tidal wave. It grows with consistency, not chaos. It doesn't rush in to rescue or idealize. It takes time to truly know and be known. So when someone love bombs you early on, it's not always a sign of how deeply they care. It may be a sign of how disconnected they are from themselves. A secure person doesn't chase that feeling. They don't confuse adrenaline for compatibility. They don't lower their standards just because someone speaks in future tense before showing up in the present. Instead, they slow down. They observe. They ask, does this person match my pace? Can they tolerate emotional closeness once the novelty wears off? Because anyone can be intense in the beginning, but not everyone can be safe over time. If you've gotten caught in this kind of dynamic, it doesn't mean you're naive or broken. It means your nervous system may have been drawn to the familiarity of emotional highs and lows, but now You get to choose differently. You get to honor your pace, your boundaries, your right to build something real. Not by proving your worth to someone who can't hold it, but by holding it for yourself, every time. That's the path of secure love. Not chasing intensity, but choosing clarity. Not needing to be chosen to feel worthy, but walking away from what confuses you, because your peace matters more than their potential. All right, let's look at another reason why the chemistry with an avoidant can feel so intense, almost addictive. The second reason? Many avoidant partners are also people pleasers. Now, this might sound surprising at first. How can someone who keeps you at arm's length also be trying to please you? But here's the nuance. A lot of avoidantly attached people grew up in environments where love was conditional. They weren't taught that their emotions or needs were inherently worthy of care. Instead, they learned that affection came only when they were useful, agreeable, or impressive. So as adults, they often equate connection with performance. And in the early stages of a relationship, this shows up as them doing things for you. Acts of service, thoughtful gestures, showing up in ways that feel intensely validating. To you, it can feel incredibly sincere. They're attentive, generous, maybe even unusually thoughtful compared to past partners. It might feel like they truly see you, want you, and care deeply. But here's what's often going on beneath the surface. They're not necessarily giving out of emotional intimacy. They're giving to be approved of, to feel worthy, to earn a sense of value they were never taught they could simply have. And this is where things can get confusing, because when someone meets your needs in those early stages, it's natural to interpret it as deep compatibility. You think, wow, we just click. But what you may actually be experiencing is their survival strategy. They're not bonding from a place of openness. They're trying to secure safety through your admiration. Now, this doesn't mean their gestures weren't real, but from a secure perspective, here's the truth. Love isn't proven by how much someone does for you in the first few weeks. It's shown by their willingness to stay connected, without hiding, without performing, and without retreating once emotional intimacy starts to grow. A securely attached person sees this and doesn't get swept away. They appreciate kindness, but they stay curious. Is this coming from genuine connection or a need to be needed? They don't confuse over-functioning for devotion, and most importantly, they don't build fantasies off of early effort alone. Because when you have emotional boundaries, you know that someone meeting your needs doesn't mean they're ready for real intimacy. And someone who overgives in the beginning might also be the same person who shuts down once the relationship gets emotionally real. Secure attachment says, I don't just want the performance, I want presence. And if someone disappears the moment I get close, no amount of early effort can make up for that. This is where your self-worth comes in. You don't need to earn someone's love by being easy to please, and you don't owe your loyalty to someone just because they showed up strong in the beginning. Real connection isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. And when someone gives to get, rather than gives to share, your nervous system may light up, but your heart deserves better. And here's the final reason this kind of chemistry can feel so intense. And this one runs deep. If you tend to lean anxious in your attachment style, or even if you're a fearful avoidant who swings between craving closeness and fearing it, then you've likely been trained to chase anxiety. That might sound harsh, but it's true. Even securely attached people can be drawn into these dynamics if the early intensity mimics connection. But for someone who grew up with emotional inconsistency, the pull is especially strong. When your emotional needs were only met sometimes and usually unpredictably, your nervous system learned that love meant staying on edge, waiting, proving, reading the room. So as an adult, your subconscious is wired to pay attention to the exact same signs. It's like your inner world is a massive database storing every emotional experience you've ever had, even the ones you don't consciously remember. And when you meet someone who's emotionally unavailable, even subtly, that subconscious system lights up. This feels familiar, it says, not because it's healthy, but because it mirrors the emotional environment you once had to survive in. So, what happens? Your body gets anxious, but your mind mislabels it. That racing heart, that feeling of obsession, of needing to figure them out or get closer, you mistake it for butterflies, for chemistry, for some deep spiritual connection. But what's actually happening is your nervous system is picking up on microsignals that something's off. Inconsistent tone, delayed replies, and emotional distance they never quite name. And all those subtle cues trigger your attachment system to go into overdrive, not because this person is right for you, but because your brain is trying to resolve an old familiar story. The secure version of you can see this for what it is, not fate, but a pattern, a replay. And in that moment you get to pause and say, just because this feels urgent doesn't mean it's real connection. Just because I want to fix this doesn't mean I'm supposed to. The intensity is not always love. Sometimes it's a warning. That's why self-worth is everything here. Because when you know you're worthy of consistent love, you stop confusing emotional anxiety with emotional depth. You stop mistaking longing for compatibility. You stop staying in dynamics where your nervous system has to work overtime just to feel temporarily close. And this is what secure attachment teaches us. Real connection doesn't require chasing, decoding, or proving. It invites you in gently. It feels safe in your body. It builds over time, not under pressure. And when someone doesn't feel emotionally safe, even if the chemistry feels electric, you learn to trust your inner calm more than your inner chaos. That's what it means to mature emotionally. To say, I deserve peace, not just passion. I want closeness, not confusion. I want to feel loved, not just activated. And if someone can't meet you there, no matter how strong the spark feels, you get to walk away, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally showing up for yourself. So now that you understand why the connection felt so magnetic, the next question is, how do you stop yourself from getting pulled into it again? This is where self-awareness and self-protection come together. There are two parts to this work. First, you need to train yourself to recognize the emotional red flags early. And second, you need to hold your boundaries firmly, consistently, and without apology. Let's start with awareness. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn to identify the subtle signs of emotional unavailability before you get attached. That means watching out for inconsistency, for hot and cold behavior, for early love bombing that doesn't match the depth of real connection yet. Ask yourself, does this person actually show up for deeper conversations, or do they just show up with intensity? Are they extremely independent to the point where any closeness seems to threaten them? If so, you may be dealing with someone who has dismissive, avoidant tendencies. These aren't character flaws, but they are patterns that will affect your ability to feel safe, seen, and valued in the long term. So the goal isn't to change them, it's to recognize the pattern and make a choice before you're emotionally entangled. And that's where boundaries come in. Your boundaries are your compass. They define what you're available for and what you're not, what you will tolerate and what you won't, what you need and what you're no longer willing to beg for. Your expectations count as boundaries too, because when you clearly communicate what you value and require in connection, you give the relationship an opportunity to either deepen or dissolve. If you're with someone avoidant and you lovingly assert your emotional needs, one of two things will happen. They will either rise to meet you or they will pull away. And here's what you need to remember. If they retreat the moment you honor your boundaries, they were never going to show up for you anyway. Let them go. That's not rejection, it's redirection. You've just saved yourself months, maybe years of emotional exhaustion. You've walked away early, and in doing so, you've protected your peace. Partners who are emotionally available don't see your boundaries as threats. They see them as invitations. They want to know how to love you better. No, they won't be perfect, but they'll care. They'll have empathy. They'll pause and ask, how is this landing for you? Is what I'm doing making you feel secure? That's the quiet magic of someone who's truly available. They're aware of how their actions affect you because they're not just in the relationship for comfort, they're in it for connection. Avoidants who aren't emotionally ready don't think like that. Especially when triggered, they often lose access to empathy. They shut down. They see your need as a demand. Your request for closeness feels like control. And yes, it will sting when they push back, when they accuse you of being too much, too needy, too sensitive. But that's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their limits. And here's the thing, you can't control their reaction, but you can protect your nervous system. You can walk away with dignity. You can remind yourself again and again that clarity is not control, and needs are not weaknesses. Boundaries aren't ultimatums, they are filters. They show you who's capable of being in your life and who isn't. When you honor them, you stop getting stuck in long, painful dynamics with people who aren't emotionally available, and you make room for real, secure connection. And you deserve that. Not someday, now. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. Truly, it means you're not just looking for love, you're looking for something deeper. You're showing up for yourself, and that matters. Today we explored why the chemistry with avoidant partners can feel so strong, how love bombing, people-pleasing, and subconscious anxiety loops can create a false sense of deep connection. We broke down how your nervous system can confuse intensity with intimacy, and how recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them. And most importantly, we talked about what it looks like to respond from a place of secure attachment. To pause, set clear emotional boundaries, honor your needs, and walk away from inconsistency, not because you're cold or guarded, but because your peace is no longer negotiable. At the heart of all this is one simple truth. You don't have to earn real love by chasing it. The kind of connection you deserve doesn't confuse you. It doesn't make you shrink, question your worth, or abandon your needs just to keep someone close. Choosing your self-worth over short-term chemistry is not a loss. It's the most powerful kind of love you can offer yourself. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, share your story, your insight, or even just how you're feeling right now. You're not alone on this journey. And if you're ready for more content like this, deep, honest conversations about attachment, self-worth, and secure love, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. There's so much more coming to support you in becoming the kind of partner you've always wanted, starting with how you show up for you. You're worthy of love that feels safe, steady, and real. Keep choosing yourself every time,